immune system's main purpose is to keep infectious microorganisms out of the body, as well as destroying any microorganisms that may end up in the body. It's a complex viral network filled with cells and organs. There are many organs involved with the immune system: the adenoids, the appendix, blood vessels, bone marrow, lymph nodes, lymphatic vessels, Peyer's patches, the spleen, the thymus, and the tonsils. The organs in the immune system are all collectively known as lymphoid organs, and they affect the growth and development of the body and the release of lymphocytes, a type of white blood cell. Blood and lymphatic vessels carry the lymphocytes to and from different areas of the body. More specifically, lymphocytes are a type of infection-fighting white blood cell. They are vital to an effective immune system, and without them, the immune system is weak and quite prone to disease. All around the body, they look out for infectious microorganisms. Lymphocytes are formed in bone marrow, which is the soft and fatty tissue found in the cavities of bone. All cells are produced in bone marrow, and only some will become lymphocytes. Some of these newly formed lymphocytes mature in the bone marrow, becoming B cells, and some finish maturing in the thymus, becoming T cells. Both B and T cells are major groups of lymphocytes that seek and destroy infectious microorganisms. B cells, the lymphocytes that finish maturing in bone marrow, produce the specific antibodies to certain infectious microorganisms. T cells, however, kill the microorganisms by killing the affected body cells. They also release lymphokines, which trigger an immune response to combat a virus. Other white blood cells, phagocytes and cytotoxic cells, are the ones that actually kill the infectious microorganism. They do this by devouring the cells, whereas the lymphocytes just produce something to stop the infection. Infections are caused by antigens. Antigens are a foreign substance that enters the body, and when they enter the body, they trigger an immune system response which starts the production of antibodies to fight off the infection. Our body combats millions of germs a day, and a lot of that is thanks to our skin. Our skin is a 7-layer protection system that stops many germs, some even infectious. If our skin was not as protective as it currently is, each person could become infected with new diseases every day, making our immune systems work even harder to combat disease. There are 2 types of immunity for the immune system: natural immunity and acquired immunity. Natural immunity is one that's created by the natural barriers of the body, such as skin, protective mouth substances, the urinary tract, and the surface of the eye. As a newborn, the antibodies passed from mother to child while breastfeeding are another form of natural immunity, but that wears off as the child grows older. Acquired immunity is developed through exposure to certain things: foreign microorganisms, toxins, and foreign tissues. These are remembered by the immune system, so when they enter again, the body remembers exactly how to respond or fight. Chickenpox is a good example of this, because the immune system produces antibodies in response to the chickenpox virus or its vaccine. When the person is exposed to chickenpox again, chickenpox antibodies are already in place and will be triggered to fight it, and that's the reason one can only be infected with chickenpox once. An infectious disease can be either a virus, bacterium, parasite, or a fungus, and any infection can be acquired through sexual transmission, airborne transmission, bloodborne transmission, direct skin contact, insect-borne transmission, foodborne transmission, or waterborne transmission. But in more developed countries, such as the United States, many infections are spread through sexual transmission, airborne transmission, bloodborne transmission, and direct skin contact. A body system that works with the immune system is the circulatory system. They both work together to keep the body alive and healthy. The circulatory system encompasses a huge part of the body, and the immune system travels through it inside the circulatory system. The white blood cells produced by the immune system in bone marrow go into the bloodstream of the circulatory system and produce antibodies to combat infection, and the circulatory system transports blood all over the body for circulation and use within. If the immune system is not fully healthy, it can become weak and prone to disease, and many diseases can take advantage of the faulted immune system. One prevalent disease in both children and adults is leukemia and all of its kinds: chronic lymphocytic leukemia, adult acute lymphoblastic leukemia, childhood acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and adult acute myeloid leukemia. But all strands of leukemia have the same premise: they're a cancer of the blood cells. As previously mentioned, blood cells are formed in the bone marrow. Many times this is an orderly process. However, when leukemia develops, the body will produce large numbers of abnormal blood cells, and many of those abnormal blood cells are the white blood cells. So, not all white blood cells can defend the body as some are infected. Thus, they do not function properly and cause harm to the body. There are a lot of factors that can cause leukemia to develop. If you smoke, have Down syndrome or other genetic problems, or exposed to large amounts of radiation, or exposed to certain chemicals while working, such as benzene, or had some types of chemotherapy to treat other forms of cancer. It is possible for leukemia to be treated. However, many of these methods are costly and some are even experimental, but the solutions are chemotherapy, radiation treatments, stem cell transplants, biological therapy, and even clinical trials. Chemotherapy, or chemo for short, is the main treatment for most types of leukemia. It uses powerful medicines to kill the cancerous blood cells. Radiation treatments, sometimes called radiation therapy, use high-dose X-rays to destroy cancer cells and shrink swollen lymph nodes. If you are undergoing a stem cell transplant, radiation may also be used before this procedure. Stem cell treatments are another way to treat leukemia. Stem cells boost your immune system and can rebuild the supply of normal blood cells. Biological therapy uses special medicines to improve your body's natural defense against cancer. Clinical trials are another option, though thought to be somewhat taboo, because they are research projects to test new medicines and other treatments for leukemia. Now, please watch the following interview with a leukemia survivor.
I was working and I couldn't sleep because my side hurt so much. And I went to go see a doctor because my side hurt, and when I went to go see him, he called me up, told me to go visit him at 7 o'clock the next morning, and my white blood cell count was 115,000. And then by the time I saw an oncologist 3 days later, it was about over 200,000. And he told me if I didn't get to a big city hospital within the next 48 hours, I'd probably be dead. When I first went in, they actually put me, because my white blood cell count went well over 300,000, it was 380,000. So they actually had to put me on the pheresis machine to get my white blood cell counts down low enough so they could give me chemo. And so I had 3 days of that. And plus I had pneumonia when I got into the hospital too. And so we went through all that, and I was on an experimental program at Winship with Dr. Hefner. And so we probably had about, I'd say in probably about a 6-month period of time, a little over 100 chemo treatments. I know one time we had 21 days straight of chemo. Initially when I first heard from the first doctor, I was a little upset. But basically by the time I saw the oncologist and came up here, I'm one of those people that takes life as it is. You know, those are the cards I'm dealt, I got to deal with them. You know, me getting upset about and crying over it and doing all this other stuff isn't going to do me any good. It's not going to do my wife and my children any good. It's not going to do the doctors any good. So basically, I took it on as a challenge. In other words, this is just another challenge in my life that I need to take care of. And you know, that's the way I approach life, and that's the way I approach this whole thing. And to be honest with you, in the big picture of things, I take this as a blessing. I think it'll make me a better person, a better human being, a better father, you know, a better husband, and all those other things. Because I think what it does is, you know, going through all this stuff sort of softens your soul a little bit. You know, a lot of stuff that used to matter to you really doesn't matter that much anymore. You know, there's a lot of little minor things that, you know, everybody stresses out from day-to-day life, and, you know, finances and, you know, all this other stuff. One of the big things I saw at the hospital, a lot of patients that I talked to, as they're all worried about money and insurance and all this other stuff. And I said, well, if you're dead, you're not going to collect the money anyway, so what are you worried about? You know, it's like, you know, having bills after you leave the hospital is a good thing. It means you're alive. You know, it's simple. I was truly humbled by the amount of outpouring I've got. In other words, you know, I must have done some nice things in a different lifetime, because, you know, it was one of those things that, you know, people here in Atlanta had a party for me. About 250, 300 people showed up, you know, to help offset some of the costs and everything else like that. I had a restaurant on Hilton Head for about 10 years, and even though I haven't lived there since '89, they had a party down there for me, and about another 200 people showed up for that, and they had another party for me in New York too. And I just had a real outpouring of, you know, people that I haven't spoken to in 20 years, emailing me, writing me letters, visiting me, and everything else like that. So it was a really humbling experience. It really was, that many people were praying for you and caring about you and everything else like that.
Not everyone who gets leukemia survives, but one way to up your chances of survival is early detection and prevention.